Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Illinois.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection, so ordered.
Madam President, I watched with growing concern what happened yesterday in Bosnia in the Parliament. I'm old enough at the age of 64 to have seen some history. And you were present, Madam President, when 2 weeks ago we had a retreat of Democratic senators. 2 weeks ago today, there was the dedication of the Holocaust Museum. The next evening at the retreat, Ambassador Madeleine Albright spoke to the Democratic senators, and then we had a discussion on Bosnia. And I remember getting up and advocating firmer measures. And I remember one of our colleagues got up and said, well, you have to remember, if you use airstrikes, you have to ask what happens next. And he went into a scenario. And then I got up and said, I think that's a perfectly proper question. But you also have to ask the question, what happens next if we do nothing? And our colleague, Senator Pat Moynihan, gave the best two-word answer I've ever heard to a question. He said, another museum. We can't repeat history. 2 days ago, Senator Joe Biden, Senator Jim Jeffords, Senator Harlan Matthews, and I met with the Bosnian foreign minister, in which he told vividly about what is happening in the slaughter of tens of thousands of innocent people. I asked him what happens if in the Bosnian parliament, so-called parliament, because they weren't elected by anybody, there is simply a delaying tactic. And that is what has happened. It was interesting listening to the radio this morning. Secretary of State Warren Christopher described it as precisely that. The community of nations cannot sit back idly and do nothing. And I think the time has come for airstrikes on artillery positions. Artillery positions where the Bosnian Muslims have no chance to respond. And it is clear now from talking to military leaders that airstrikes could be effective. That is important to get the message to the Serbian leadership. And we're talking about the Serbian leadership, not the Serbian people. To get that message of the Serbian people to the Serbian leadership, and frankly, as well as the Serbian people, so that Serbia doesn't increase its appetite. That's the lesson from Adolf Hitler. If you gobble up one piece of territory, you're not satisfied. It's a little bit like an alcoholic. One drink isn't enough. But it is a message that we have to get not only to the Serbian leaders, it is a message that we have to get to dictators all over the world. You cannot move in on neighboring territory without the community of nations responding. Our response, frankly, Madam President, has been far too weak. We should have been responding 18 months ago. And I'm not just blaming the Bush administration. I think our response under the Clinton administration has also been too slow, too anemic. People say, how come you favor doing something now and you didn't favor it under Desert Storm. Desert Storm, we did not try the economic boycott, and there it was much easier to work. Here, we have dallied around with economic boycotts and other things, and it just simply hasn't worked. I think we have to do more. And let me add, it can be limited. The Bosnians are not asking for ground troops, and I do not favor sending ground troops in. So when people talk about Vietnam, in Vietnam we had 525,000 ground troops. Vietnam, you had a much murkier, much less distinct kind of situation. Bosnia, you have innocent people being killed. You have rape as a matter of public policy on the part of some people. I think we have to respond. The time is past for sitting around twiddling our thumbs saying, my, it's terrible what these people are doing. We have to do something, and I hope we do quickly. Mr. President, I see my distinguished colleague from Colorado who has eloquence in his voice about to address the Senate, and I yield the floor.
I thank my colleague. And
Chair recognizes the Senator.